Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have two stories for you, both with updates from the AmITheA subreddit. Before we start that, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. Alright, on to the stories. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from TA Bridesmaid 32423. Am I the butthole for spoiling my friend's bachelorette party? I, 30 female, spoiled my friend's bachelorette party and now am being kicked out of the wedding party. She is one of my closest friends and I have been feeling devastated and guilty by the turn of events since last weekend. I'm using fake names since I want to keep it anonymous. My friend Joanna, 29 female, is getting married and I was incredibly happy for her. Joanna is my coworker and we have been working together for the last 7 years. She is one of my closest friends and I was so honored when she asked me to be a bridesmaid for her wedding. I also know her fiance as he also works with us and is a friend of mine. Most of the other bridesmaids, including maid of honor, are Joanna's college friends and they have all been nice to me. They planned a nice weekend bachelorette party for her last weekend. We rented an Airbnb and the plan was to hang out, drink, and play games all night. There were around 10 girls and all of them were the same age as me. We reached there in the morning and spent the day by the pool. In the evening, the plan was to dress classy in cocktail dresses and hang out. Things were going well and we were playing the normal bachelorette party games and having fun. Around 10 p.m., there was a knock on the door and the maid of honor made us all be quiet for a surprise. She had hired 2 male strippers for the bachelorette party. I am married and I was shocked as no one mentioned this was the plan. I was uncomfortable but decided not to cause a scene as others were screaming and happy. However, as soon as they started dancing, the strippers started calling out to some girls and the girls were getting very handsy with them. At this point, I excused myself that I needed water and went to the pool area. I was uncomfortable at this point and called my husband. I told him what was going on and he told me that he trusts me and not to do something I am uncomfortable with just because of peer pressure. I told him to stay on the phone and talk to me. After around 15 minutes, 3 more girls also came out where I was sitting and sat next to me. They were also uncomfortable with the turn of events. I told them I was talking to my husband and they also took the opportunity to call their partners or text them. They told me that they were also not told about the strippers, and the maid of honor took the liberty to arrange that as a surprise for everyone. After a while, the noise from inside started going down, and we thought the strippers had left. We went inside to check, and there was a bunch of not safe for work stuff going on. I was shocked to see that Joanna was with one of the guys. I screamed in disbelief and that startled her. I just got out of the room and then me and the other 3 girls went for a drive. We returned after an hour around midnight. The guys had left and all the girls were sitting around as if they'd seen a ghost. After we left, it seemed like Joanna suddenly had an anxiety attack. She started crying and they kicked out all the strippers. She wanted to talk to her fiance, but the girls calmed her down and kept her from calling him and telling him what happened. Her friends then took Joanna to the bedroom and the maid of honor told us that it was rude for us to leave in the middle of the party. She looked at me and said, "You had to be the center of everything. This was Joanna's night and you ruined it." I was too shocked to say anything and just decided to call it a night and went to sleep. The drive back was awkward to say the least. The 3 girls who followed me outside decided to carpool with me, and I didn't have to talk to the maid of honor or Joanna the next day. On Monday, Joanna skipped work and called me in the evening. She said that the other bridesmaids do not feel comfortable with me being in the wedding party, and if it's okay with me. She also told me that she hopes I follow the girl code and not talk about what happened over the weekend. I have already told my husband and he said that I should just step away from the drama. He also offered to go on a vacation during the wedding weekend and skip the wedding as Joanna may not want me to be there. I feel so bad for what happened over the weekend. Joanna has been actively avoiding me since Monday. I was so happy for her, but I just cannot unsee what I saw over the weekend. I also know how much Joanna adores her fiancé, and it must be just a lapse of judgment for her in that moment. I do not know how I should have acted, but the male stripper just crossed my line. Am I the butthole to ruin Joanna's bachelorette party? And was there any other way I should have acted in this situation? The guilt is just killing me, and I don't know what I should do now. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Zanif. It says, I'm getting married in October. If a single stripper shows up to my bachelor party, I'm walking out the door, and every single person who was complicit in hiring them will be removed from my wedding party. I don't care if that means I'm up there alone. Considering that I have told my best matron this, and one of my groomsmen stalks my Reddit profile, this will not be news to anyone. Cheating with strippers is never a lapse in judgment. Another commenter down below called Fugazi Rules says, not the butthole. Joanna cheated, and the maid of honor is scapegoating you so things can work out. I would ask you to be stronger than the edicts of girl code and tell the fiancé. OP responded to this one and said, I am so torn right now that I'm barely able to sleep properly. A part of me wants to tell him, but I work with both of them, and it would completely put my life in a tailspin if I do that. I really don't know what I want to do. Alright OP, let's put it this way. She's already distancing herself from you, and she's angry with you because you're the scapegoat for everything that went wrong at that party. So what are you really losing if you decide to tell her soon-to-be husband? I'm guessing that one of them would leave the workplace anyway if they were to split up, so I don't think there's too much of a drawback here. Plus, he deserves to know. I for sure would want to know myself. Alright, OP updated this one, let's jump into that now. The update is titled, Update, Am I the Butthole for Spoiling My Friend's Bachelorette Party? I wrote a post last week regarding my friend Joanna's bachelorette party going south after her maid of honor decided to surprise everyone by inviting male strippers, and the bride decided to have fun. I had left the room immediately with a few other girls and was uncomfortable with this. I had asked for advice on how to proceed since the guilt of witnessing the events and not telling the fiancé was killing me. I wanted to give the update since a lot of people are messaging me to tell the fiancé. The bachelorette party happened 2 weekends ago. Last week was super awkward. Joanna asked me on Monday if it's okay if I step down from being a bridesmaid. I agreed, and my husband also suggested we skip the wedding altogether, and was supportive of me. I did not tell the groom, Jason, but he came to me on Thursday and asked me why I stepped down from being a bridesmaid. I told him I do not want to discuss the issue, and Joanna knew the reason. I did not want to lie to him, but also did not have the courage to tell him the truth. On Sunday morning, Joanna called me and asked me if she and Jason could come to our house, as Jason wanted to talk to me. She sounded like she was crying on the other side. I said okay and told her to come over later since my husband and I were at the gym. Jason and Joanna both came together and we invited them to come in. Jason was stone-faced and it took a few minutes before anyone said a word. Jason looked at me and told me that he considered me his friend and wanted to know exactly what happened that night. I told him the whole story about how we had a nice weekend until the strippers came. I told him that I left the room after some girls started dancing with them, as I did not feel comfortable. My husband was also backing up my story, as I was on a call with him the whole time after that. I told him how me and the other girls went in after 30 minutes and saw one of Joanna's friends, married, was doing something adult with one of the strippers. Joanna was also dancing with one of the strippers who was completely in the buff at this point, and I was very shocked and screamed Joanna's name. I lied slightly because, from my point of view, I could see the stripper's back, and Joanna was sitting in front of him, and something might have been going on. However, I was not sure, and did not tell Jason about it. I told him I left after that, and came back to Joanna crying, and wanting to call Jason. Joanna started talking at this point, and told Jason that she was also surprised to see the strippers, and did not want to spoil the party. It was the maid of honor's idea, and the other 3 friends, all married, had paid for them. That was the reason none of the others knew about it, as it never showed up in the expenses we were tracking. Joanna thought they were just strippers and not adult workers, and got carried away and did not stop them. When I screamed, Joanna suddenly realized how wrong everything was. I left and Joanna realized how bad the situation looked. She wanted to call Jason immediately to let him know what happened, but her friends stopped her from doing that because they were worried their husbands would find out. Joanna was begging Jason to trust her, and she did not kiss or do anything inappropriate with the strippers. Jason was really upset, but he asked me if Joanna really was crying and tried to call him. I confirmed it, as the other girl had told that to me. Jason hugged Joanna and told her that he trusts her and loves her. However, she must cut the maid of honor and the other 3 friends, as they invited adult workers for the bachelorette party. He was also adamant that Joanna told her friends' husbands regarding the incident, but Joanna was very reluctant to do that. Joanna said she would stop hanging out with those girls and came and hugged me. She was very apologetic, and I could see from her eyes how relieved she was. She apologized to me for putting me in that situation. Overall, she dodged a huge bullet. I really hope I did the right thing, and Joanna will never do something stupid like this in the future. From what I understand, one of the other girls who came out with me told Jason about the incident after he got suspected, and he confronted Joanna. I again wanted to thank everyone for their suggestions, and they helped me think through the whole situation. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called OldHamster4218. It says, in the first post, it sounded like Joanna was effing the stripper, then you backtracked and said you couldn't see it. The next person down below, called Ivan Nimoy, said, yep, originally it was NSFW stuff, and Joanna was with one of the guys, followed by a full-blown panic attack and, oh my god, don't tell Jason. Now it turns out they were hired adult workers, not just strippers, but Joanna was just dancing with him. Only thing I can say even remotely positive is, she's loyal to her friends. Another commenter down below, called MixFun9083, said, you're the butthole, you admitted a key part, and because of you, Jason believes that Joanna is some kind of saint. He is now going to marry Joanna because you have essentially vouched for her. Women like Joanna cheat on their SOs. Sooner or later, she will go out, have a little too much to drink, and cheat on Jason. That would also be your fault, because you failed to be honest. You have no obligation to have Joanna's back. Alright, so it sounds like one way or another, the husbands of the other girls that were there are going to find out what was going on. And when their lives start to fall apart, they're gonna tell the truth about what happened with Joanna. OP, your holding back on this one makes absolutely no sense. It's still going to come out in the end, and your friend Jason is going to think that you're a dick, because you kinda are. This story comes to us from Tequila Shots at Work. Am I the butthole for ordering tequila shots for my work colleagues at Friday lunchtime? I, 26 male, work in a busy lab, medical diagnostics. And every Friday we go as a team, 6 to 7 people, to a local sports bar to have a team building lunch on the boss's company card. Yesterday, our boss was swamped with deadlines, but said the rest of us could go anyway, as long as we paid for any alcoholic drinks ourselves. Usually, the boss plus 1 to 2 other people will order a small beer with their lunch, so I have consumed alcohol on the clock before in this job. I was even thinking that without the boss there, that I might order a big beer this time. When we arrived though, me and my work bro, 25 male, were drawn to a new offer the bar had on tequila shots, 5 for $10. In our defense, we had just had a very stressful morning, so we proposed to the team that we buy a single round of shots to commemorate it. A couple of our colleagues were a little reluctant, but after a little convincing, we were soon toasting to the morning of hard work. That's when my work bro proposed we order a second round of shots. I have a pretty high tolerance to alcohol, so it was no problem with me. I knew for a fact we have a couple of lightweight colleagues, for example, a diminutive Asian lady who rarely drinks, 23 female, but we still managed to convince the rest of the table to drink with us a second time. After that, the 2 females with us tapped out, but the 3 remaining guys, myself included, decided to split 10 further tequila shots. In our defense, as far as team building goes, the outing was a roaring success. I think I learned more about my colleagues in those 1.5 hours than I have in the last 2 years. Unfortunately, when we got back to the office, our boss could smell the tequila on my breath. My work bro, very stupidly, decided to be honest and told him that some of us had had 5+ shots of alcohol at lunch. My boss's face turned bright effing red. He told us all to go home immediately and that it wasn't safe for us to be working in a lab while inebriated. I calmly explained to him that I, in fact, still felt very sober. I have a very high tolerance, remember, but he wasn't having it. I'm genuinely worried about what's going to happen on Monday morning. The 2 female colleagues called me and my work bro buttholes for taking it too far and getting everyone into trouble. I see their point of view, but on the other hand, we did have a really good time while at the bar. Help us out, Reddit. Who is the butthole here? Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Omerade2. It says, "You're the butthole. I'm pretty sure being inebriated while working in a medical diagnostic lab is a felony. You should be thankful you weren't fired." Another commenter down below called Resting Beautyface said, "You're the butthole, and the way you describe your other coworkers is gross. Females, diminutive Asian, and work bro, you need to grow up." One last commenter down below called Throwaway9455370 said, "You're the butthole, expect to be fired on Monday." OP may have instigated them taking tequila shots, but nobody was holding a pew-pew to anybody's head and saying they had to do it. So I think they're just as liable here as OP is. I completely agree with the commenter that says that OP needs to grow up though. They're working in a medical lab. Who goes out, has a whole bunch of drinks, and then goes back to work thinking everything's going to be okay? Dumbass. Alright, OP updated this one. Let's jump into that now. The update is titled, "Update, Am I the Butthole?" for ordering tequila shots for my work colleagues at Friday lunchtime. Well, I'm sure a lot of you will be happy to know that me and my now out of work bro got fired this morning. HR asked us why exactly we thought we could drink 6 tequila shots and then go back to the lab. All we could think of was that in college, we used to work hard and play hard, and it didn't affect our grades. They didn't like that excuse. Anyway, we were offered a plea bargain. HR accepted our resignations and promised a passing, but not glowing reference for future employers, on the condition that we don't mention what happened to anyone ever again. I want to thank all those that commented on the original thread. I now accept that me and my work bro made a grievous error of judgment. We're not alcoholics as some people suggested, but we're not in college anymore either. Personally, I will be laying off the hard liquor for a while to focus on rebuilding my career in medical diagnostics. And if in the future someone offers me a shot while I'm on the clock, I will say no thank you. Alright, well there's no comments on this one to mention, so let's just go right into the fact that OP, you got what you deserved. And I hope you did learn a lesson on this one, but for some reason, I feel like you didn't. One thing I'm actually shocked about on this one is that they didn't fire everybody, but maybe they still needed people to fill the seats. You would just think that there would be a zero tolerance policy on drinking hard shots during work time, especially in a medical lab. Like, what is that? Did you know every Karma Stories video is also produced in podcast form? You can search for Karma Stories on all major podcasting platforms. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.